Hey guys, and welcome to the fish room. It has been a hot minute since I said that. So if you've been around for a while, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Rachel O'Leary, and the fish room is quite different than it used to be, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that today and give you an update on this aquarium here. This aquarium is a 75-gallon. It's been running for 17 years, 7 of which have been in this manifestation with these plants. I lovingly call it my 75-gallon nano, not because the tank is small, but because all of the inhabitants that have ever lived in it are small fish. I want to take a minute to update you guys just briefly on what to expect and what's been going on in life. If you follow me on Instagram or you've looked at my community tab, you'll see that like right after Christmas in 2021, I had a really gnarly car accident that caused some pretty significant brain injuries. And then as I was seeking treatment for that in the spring, I got diagnosed with cancer. I'm still undergoing treatment. I've had multiple surgeries, radiation, 1 oral chemotherapy. But the combination of the 2 events has caused a pretty severe migraine syndrome. And they're not sure that that'll ever go away. And what that means for my channel and for my fish keeping is that I've had to really scale back. Right now I'm down to maybe 6 or 8 aquariums, only 3 of which actually have fish in them. One of the things that I hope to do in the upcoming year is to slowly and gradually restock, rescape, and redo these aquariums and share the process with you guys. I will never go back to having the tanks like I used to, I don't think. Quite simply can't depend on my brain the way I used to or my health. So I'm trying to see where I fit within this hobby. One exciting thing is that this means I'll be able to do more species spotlights. As I get in new fish, I will share what I learn about them with you guys in that short format species spotlight type. I'll still occasionally do Tuesday tips. I'm gonna do summer tubbing starting next month, so stay tuned for that. Make sure you're subscribed. I still do a whole lot with all of my house plants and bog gardens and veggie gardens, again sort of as my brain allows it. So sometimes there may be a flurry, sometimes there may be a drought, but I'm going to try and start filming and sharing more so that I can put out some consistent content for you guys, as well as share some of the sources that I've discovered for fish, for different things along the way, and continue to share my methods of maintenance, etc. So if you're interested in that, I hope you'll come along for the ride. But for now, let's put the hair in sport mode and take a look in the aquarium to see what is in here, and I'll tell you guys a little bit more then. So as I mentioned, this aquarium has been running like this, and I built it on this channel. All the steps are in my history. About 7 years ago, and I have to be completely honest, I have not trimmed it, I have not pruned it, I have not done any of that for at least 3 years, so it is well overdue for some fine-tuning. However, with the low-light plants that I've chosen, it has been absolutely bomb-proof to maintain. Even when I was at my sickest, all it needed was basic water changes. One of the things that had to happen when I got really sick was that I rehomed about 95% of all of my fish. I kept the dwarf hill stream running mainly because all of those fish were super geriatric. I kept this tank running, but I sold all the fish out of it. And then as I closed down other smaller tanks, I sort of combined like fish with like fish into this aquarium. And what that means is I grouped mainly Southeast Asian fish that would be compatible in here to just live out their life. They were either fish that didn't sell or fish that were fry that I couldn't get to sell before I started treatment. And so I thought today that we would just take a quick look. I'll put a Sarah Onip tab on the glass and bring all the fish to my yard, and we'll talk about what my hopes and dreams are for this aquarium in the upcoming months. So this tank is planted with a bunch of Anubias, some Bucephalandra, bunch of moss, some African water fern, some smaller crypts, and some dwarf sagittaria. And all of these plants have just continued to hold their own and do well over the past 3 years as I've been going through these health crises. Now, if you remember correctly, this used to be a South American tank. It housed green neons, apistogrammas, laser cories, pencil fish. It's had a lot of different manifestations over the years. And down here in my fish room, I heat the room, not the aquarium. So this one hangs out in the mid 70s, which makes it particularly well suited for a lot of the Southeast Asian fish. And these fish here are Danio chopre, the glow light Danio. So these were fish that were in a fry tank when I got diagnosed. And so when I sold all the green neons and the other South American stuff in here, I just moved the Danio fry into this aquarium, and they've done really, really well. If they settle down a minute here, I'll get you some close-up shots, but as far as I can tell, there's maybe 15 or so of these Danio chopre, and then there's a colony of rosy loaches, the Petroichthys rosy, the ones that are the little hovering loach, and it looks like there's a white cloud. I don't recall adding that fish, but you know how it goes with white clouds. I still have a 55-gallon tank of those as well that I'll be moving out for summer tubbing. Let's see if we can get a closer look. So one of the things that I want to do in the upcoming months is to basically build the stocking of this aquarium around these fish, because I've had them for a long time. They were born and raised in my basement. I think that glow light Danios are exceptionally beautiful. These guys have been really bomb proof, and so my hope is, you know, to build a community based around fish of this rough size and demeanor, maybe get some more that are more top dwelling. These guys really utilize the whole aquarium. They're not very shy, and you know, I really like them, and I see no reason to get rid of them. Plus at this point, you know, they're 3.5 years old. They're not really fish I would want to sell, and I don't know that I ever really want to sell fish again. I just want to enjoy them. So I'm thinking about getting some more loaches for in here, maybe some sort of surface dwelling fish, maybe a pair of wild bettas or gourami or something like that, and just keeping it a really nice community planted aquarium. If you guys have fish that you've been wanting me to do a species spotlight on, let me know in the comments, because your input means a whole lot to me, and I will take them all into consideration. You can see, let's see if we can get them in focus. There are maybe a half dozen rosy loaches in here. There's a male. Gives me so much joy to watch these guys just play and feed. Anyway, there's some male and female rosy loach. There's the Danio chopre, and then there's a bunch of really, really, really ancient Amano shrimp. Now, I remember when I stocked this tank with Amano shrimp, I only put males in, and that's because the females, as they get old, can get really, really large and honestly a little bit aggressive. I've seen them take out shrimp, I've seen them take out small fish, so I only put males in here, and they stay at like the 1.5-inch range. If any of them come out to visit, I will be sure to show you. There may also be a few other fish in here that I just haven't discovered yet, but we can find out together. For the most part, though, it's these glow light Danios, which, oh gosh, they're just spectacular with that orange and iridescence. And then, anyway, I think it'll be really, really fun to sort of take a step back and just behave like a hobbyist again. It's been a long time since I just got to enjoy fish for fish's sake. and it's been a really long time since I've done a species spotlight, and I don't know, historically they're one of my favorite things to do on this channel, just because I really love sharing what I've learned and how I've had success with various species of fish. One of the other goals for this year is to restock the Hill Stream aquarium, which will be with more uncommon fish, but this one should be more attainable, achievable, affordable species. I really think that there's a lot of underrated species that just don't get enough attention, that are really worthwhile to keep. So we're going to focus on that. I did have to rehome the big boys. They were one of the first species that I rehomed when I found out I was sick, actually. Mainly because I was really, really concerned that if I got really terribly sick, they would be a burden for my family or friends to place for me. They went to my friend Ryan, who owns Global Fish Co. up outside New York. He is extremely experienced with the large fish, and he actually drove the whole way down here and caught them and took them home for me, so that it would be one less thing for me to worry about. Fun fact, those fish were in my will because I was so concerned about what would happen to the management of them if something happened to me. So I figured rather than tempting fate, I would just remove that burden. And I miss them every day. I really, really do. They were some of the best fish I ever kept. But sometimes in life, we have to make decisions based on the well-being of our critters, and that time of my life was one where I had to decide to just really take the best interests of my fish family and health into consideration, and rehome everything with the hopes that I would get to start over. And it's taken a few years, but I'm hoping this is a start to a really fun new adventure. I appreciate all of you that have stuck with me, you know, the way you've shared my videos so that I continued to have some relevance and exposure in this hobby has meant more than I could ever express. And again, I really look forward to hearing from you guys in the comments to hear what kind of fish you'd like to see me do species spotlights on, what sort of things you'd like to see in the future. Again, keeping in mind that everything's going to be in moderation at this point, just out of necessity. You know, unless a miracle happens, it's going to be a while until I can just feel like myself again. But I'm trying to establish a new normal, and I'd love to bring you guys along for the ride. As always, thank you for the continued support, and I look forward to reading what you have to say down in that section.